Right? This poem is called The Burial of Sir John Moore, and his kind of interest to the people of East Cork because it was written by Reverend Charles Wolfe. He died in 1823 and he's buried in Old Church Cemetery on the back road into Cove. So that's where he's buried, the author of this poem. Not a drum was held, not a song was knowed, as his corpse to the ramparts we hurried. Not a soldier discharged his farewell shot, or the grave where our hero we buried. We buried him darkly at dead of night. The suds without bareness tonguing, by the struggling moonbeams misty light, and the lantern dimly burning. No useless coffin in Sauce's breast, now in sheet, now in shroud, we wound him. Where he lay, like a warrior, taking his rest, with his martial cloak around him. Few and short were the prayers we said, and we spoke not a word of sorrow. We steadfastly gazed on the face of a dead, and we bitterly thought of the morrow. We thought as we hollowed his narrow bed, and smote it down his lonely pillars, that the foe and the stranger would tread o'er his head, and we far away on the billow. Lightly they'll talk of the spirit that is gone, and all his cold ashes upbraid him. But little he will reck if they let him sleep on in the grave where Britain has laid him. But half our heavy task was done when the clock struck the hour for retiring, and we heard the distant and random gun that the foe was suddenly firing. Slowly and sadly we laid him down. From the field of his fame fresh and glory, we carved not a line, and we raised not a stone, but we left him alone with his glory.
Lovely job, mate. Lovely. Lovely.
There was a wild colonial boy, Jackie Duggan was his name. He was born and reared in Ireland, in a place called Castlemaine. He was his father's only son, his mother's pride and joy, and dearly did his parents love the wild colonial boy. At the early age of 16 years, he left his native home, and to Australia's sunny clime he was inclined to roam. He robbed the lordly squatters, their crops he would destroy, and the terror to Australia was the wild colonial boy. For 3 long years this native youth ran on his wild career, with a heart that knew no danger, their justice did not fear. He stuck the beechwort o' coach up, and he robbed Judge McEvoy, who trembling gave his gold up to the wild colonial boy. He bade the judge good morning, and he told him to beware, for he never robbed an honest judge who acted on the square, but he would rob a mother of her son and only joy, and breed a race of outlaws like the wild colonial boy. One evening on the prairie, as Duggan rode along, he was listening to the mockingbird singing a cheerful song. Out jumped 3 troopers fierce and grim, Kelly Davis and Fitzroy. They all set out to capture him, the wild colonial boy. Surrender now, Jack Duggan, as you can see there's 3 to 1. Surrender in the Queen's name, sir, you are a plundering son. Jack drew 2 pistols from his side and glared upon Fitzroy. I will fight, but not surrender, cried the wild colonial boy. He fired a shot at Kelly, which brought him to the ground. He fired a shot at Davis too, who fell dead at the sound. But a bullet pierced his proud young heart from the pistol of Fitzroy, and that was how they captured him, the wild colonial boy. She never apologies.
Got on the northwest at Penn Station. We struggled with luggage in the aisle. We went for the same seat together. That's when I first saw you smile. We were heading home for Christmas with a sprinkle of snow on the ground. You were heading north to Albany, and I was Chicago bound. As we pulled out of the station, a blizzard of snow had blown in. The train, it moved more like ponies, doing no more than 5 or 10. Passengers helped pass out blankets to ease the harshness of the storm. We laughed when we had to share one, wrapped together to stay warm. We were snow-blocked in Poughkeepsie on the eve of Christmas Eve, on a train full of people heading home on Christmas leave. 2 strangers in Poughkeepsie and the snowstorm tempted fate. For you I was along too early, for me you were along too late. We talked away the passing hours, oh the chemistry was glue. I didn't want the snow to melt, just one more borrowed hour with you. The night drew in Poughkeepsie, you fell asleep in my embrace. I can see your reflection in the window, and that beautiful smile on your face. We woke up, the train was moving, the next stop Albany was the cry. I can still feel that pain on the platform of our long kiss goodbye. No parting words were needed when we finally let go. Oh, that Christmas in Poughkeepsie, 2 lost hearts in the snow. We were snow-blocked in Poughkeepsie on the eve of Christmas Eve, on a train full of people heading home on Christmas leave. Two strangers in Poughkeepsie, and the snowstorm tempted fate. For you I was along too early, for me you were along too late. For you I was along too early, for me you were along too late. No.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
I picked up this story from a man called Noel Joyce, and he performed it for Scorsese in 2015. It's about the shenanigans that went on in Tremor. My uncle John Bryan, he lived with his mother, a widow woman aged 94. But she died of a sudden after eating black pudding from a pig that died 3 weeks before. Ah, John, he was sad. Sure, 'twas the only pig that he had. Now he lay dead at his feet. Oh, his poor heart was breaking. And he said, he'd not waste the bacon, for himself and his mam loved red mate. A barrel of salt he procured, and the bacon was cured. He hung it up on a hook over the fire. Such a fine hunk of meat with no best before date, and no word when it would expire. In the weeks that passed by, every morning a fry, they ate 2 pork chops each around midday. For dinner 'twas bacon, if I'm not mistaken. 'Twas crew beans and drisheen for the tea. But one Friday night, Johnny woke with a fright to hear his mam give a strange cough. He rushed to her side. In his arms, sure she died. Her last words, that puddin' was off. Oh, John was distraught, but his very first thought was perhaps he'd not let her go. They'd been together for years, shared the joys and the tears. Without her, where would he go? At 50, he left school. He was nobody's fool, though not brilliant at figures or words. But from a tutor named Bernie, he had learned taxidermy, how to stuff small animals and birds. So armed with this knowledge from St. Coleman's College, he set to work with great care. And he worked through the night so his mam would look right. He even put a perm in her hair. When the job was complete, well, his mam, she looked neat, dressed up in her fine Sunday best, with her hat on her head. If you didn't know she was dead, well, by God, you'd never have guessed. Now, a week prior to her death, his mam expressed a regret that to the seaside she'd never gone. And she felt an old dip in the sea might cure her bad hip. We'll go for your birthday, says John. So to keep her alive till she'd reached 95, well, that was John's only intention. But first things come first, and John feared for the worst when he went down to town for her pension. The postmistress said, John, how's your mam getting on? I hope that she's feeling okay. Says John, she's all right. She had a very quiet night. She's not been complaining either today. 'Twas the July 1st Friday, John prayed for a dry day. He'd hook his mam out to the line. He set her up in a pose as though pegging out clothes, and he thought to himself, she looks fine. Father Danny, He called round. John made not a sound as he hid in behind the plum tree. How are you, Mrs. O'Brien? John croaked out behind the plum tree. I'm fine, but I'm not bringing you in for the tea. Well, her birthday rolled by. 'Twas the 6th of July. John backed the car up to the door. He loaded his mam inside with some brown bread and jam, and they both set off for Tramore. When he reached the seashore around 3:15, John found a quiet spot on the beach. He had £20 in the jar. It cost him 3 for the car. That left them with £8.50 each. He pulled out a deck chair, put Mam sitting there as though she was having a nap, poured himself a small paddy, offered his mum some my waddy, and left the Ireland's own on her lap. But John was soon fast asleep. The waves rolled in from the deep, and the tide crept closer to the shore. It swirled round Mam's body. It spilled her glass of my waddy. But John just continued to snore. He woke with a shock. 'Twas 9 o'clock. The tide had come in and moved on. The sun was now low. He said, "Mammy, we'll go." Sure, Mammy was already gone. He looked out on the tide. "Oh, Mammy," he cried, as he watched her sail over the foam. With a tear in his eye, he waved her goodbye. Then he picked up his stuff and he went home. Though his mother was recovered, his deed was never discovered. They said a woman drowned aged 94. But John, he knew better, and he'd never forget her, nor that birthday they'd spent in Tramore. That's it.
Well done, John.
Lovely.
When rooks ripped home at eventide, and trees pegged shadows to the ground, the tinkers came to Callan Bridge and camped beside the famine mound. With long-eared ass and bony horse and brown, blue-wheeled cart and caravan, and she, the fairest of them all, the daughter of the tinker clan. The sun flamed in her red hair, and in her eyes danced stars of mirth. Her body held a willow's grace. Her feet scarce touched the springing earth. The night spread its star-tasseled shawls. The river gossiped to its stones. She sat beside the leaping fire and sang the songs the tinker owns. The songs as old as turning wheels and sweet as bud throats after rain. Deep wisdom of the wild, wet earth, the pain of joy, the joy of pain. A farmer going by the road to tend his cattle in the byre, and saw her like some fairy queen between the river and the fire. Her beauty stirred his brooding blood, her magic mounted in his head. He stole her from her tinker clan, and on the morrow they were wed. And when the sunlight swamped the hills and Bud's song drowned the river's bells, the tinkers quenched their hazel fires and climbed the windy road to Kells. And from this house she watched him go with blue-wheeled cart and caravan, the long-eared ass and bony horse and brown-haired woman and tinker man. She watched him go, she watched him fade and vanish in the yellow furze. A cold wind blew across the sun and silenced all the singing birds. She saw the months run on and heard the river fret and foam. At white of day the roosters called, at dim of dusk the cows came home. The crickets strummed their heated harps in hidden halls behind the hob, and told of distant waterways where the black moorhead hens dive and bob and shoot the glassy bubbles up to smash their windows on the stones, and brown trout hide their spots of gold among the river's pebbly bones. And the ebbing sea that flung a net of sound about the stars set strange hills dancing in her dreams and meshed her to the wandering cars. She stole out from her sleeping men and fled the fields that tied her down. Her face moved towards the rising sun, her back was to the tired town. She climbed the pallid road to Kells, against the hill, against the wind. At Glen Bay of the mountain stream she came among her tinker kind. They bedded her between the wheels, and there her son was born. She had the tinker woman's praise before she died that morn. The years flew by like frightened birds that spill a feather and are gone. The farmer walked his weedful fields and made the tinkers travel on. No more they camped at Canbridge and coaxed their fires to fragrant flame. They saw him with his dog and gun. They spat and cursed his name. And when May hid the hawthorn trees with stars she stole from out the skies, there came a barefoot tinker lad with red hair and laughing eyes. He left the road, he crossed the field. The farmer shot him in the side. A smile went from his twisting lips. He told his name and died. That evening when the neighbours came, they found the son laid on the floor. They saw the father swinging dead between the window and the door. They placed the boy upon the cot. They cut the swinging farmer down, and they swear a tinker woman came with them all the way to town. The sun flamed in her red hair, and in her eyes danced stars of mirth. Her body held a willow's grace. Her feet scarce touched the springing earth. They buried them in Kilvarnogue, and eyes were moist and lips were wan. And when the mound was patted down, the tinker maid was gone. These things were long before my time. I only speak with borrowed words, but that's how the story goes in Ivera of the singing birds.
Well done.
Lovely.
Right? Yeah. Coolen tí le Sean O'Riordan. Tá tíar na nóga coolen tí, tíar álan trína céile. Loch cewa cos siúil na slí, gan bróga óhu ná léna, gan béla a co ná déalaga. Ach fás an clócha ar gach dwym sa tíar se trína céile, lóta tanga ar coolen tí, ná hid ein ach éasach agus tá sé siúd sa crea. Tá caca ann is áil sa cín, is lacha rion mór héalach. Tá gara mór dubh mar nód sa tíar, ag drenne le gach éine, is cat ag crú na gréine. Tá bont Tá cúna hir tá bont á bhíl, is únta sí an síl ann, chuin ná buchle sean hata tí, is trumpa babelnéta, is kittelbán mar déann, is ann na hagan na tin céire, gnéfa trína céile, tá déala co le cúnan tí, is byd i'r derca, cwn got ti yn ewn. Mae fan yn fe cwn yn tir, so dawcydys gydenaf, gyfec nawn cwrt dalir, yn tolefyn sy'n esaf, i ddyn y ffwca lenta.
Rouse. Yeah.
Lovely.
Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, on where the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Loud the winds howl, loud the waves roar, thunder claps rend the air. Baffled our foes stand by the shore, follow they will not dare. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, on where the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Many's the lad fought on that day, well the claymore could wield. When the night came, silently lay, dead in Culloden's field. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, on where the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Though the waves leap, soft shall she sleep, ocean's a royal bed. Rocked in the deep, Flora will keep watch o'er your weary head. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, on where the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Burned are our homes, exile and death, scatter the loyal men. Yet hear the sword cool in the sheath, Charlie will come again. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, on where the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to sky. Over the sea to sky.
Michael?
Lovely.
Introduce the story.
Okay.
Look at the camera, don't be looking at me, Thomas.
Yeah. There was a friend of mine from Kilfinnan, and a neighbour outside Kilfinnan, a farmer. He was helping the widow woman out on the farm, but there was no truth in it. And then there was a bit of gossip, and he was telling John O'Donnell from Baleview in Kilfinnan about this, and John sat down and he wrote this little ditty. So this is the tongue, it brings us all together actually, by John O'Donnell of Kilfinnan. It's lolling there within your mouth, bad manners when you stick it out. It's used a lot to talk and lick, to wet a stamp to make it stick, and used a lot to slag and slate, and sometimes to congratulate. The innocent were often hung by evidence of vicious tongue. Tongues will taste and also wag, can also praise as well as nag, will spit derision and disdain, a willing mouthpiece of the brain, and is known sometimes to slip and often late to pull the zip. You're 2 feet ankle deep and down, and getting mouthfuls all of cold tongue. The gossipers and chatterbox their wagging tongues will rattle, with tongues as sharp as razor blades, inflating tittle-tattle. In youthful times on the lookout, sweet serenades were sung. With passing years those melodies all tarnished by the tongue. It's folly to vexate one's foes, that's how one hits the deck. Thinking twice is good advice, and keep that tongue in check. Sagacity should be the rule, our tongues should dirt deposit. You'd be a mule to act a fool, there is bones in every closet. Sinead.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
I love that. I really
George Formby. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. I wonder if she'll get away. She doesn't always get away, but anyhow I know that she'll try. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. There's no other girl I would wait for, but this one I'd break any day for. I won't have to ask what she's late for. She wouldn't leave me flat, she's not a girl like that. Well, she's absolutely beautiful and marvellous and wonderful, and anyone can understand why. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. There's no other girl I would wait for, but this one I'd break any day for. I won't have to ask what she's late for. She wouldn't leave me flat, she's not a girl like that. Well, she's absolutely beautiful and marvellous and wonderful, and anyone can understand why. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. No.
That's the stuff.
I'm going to sing A Bunch of Thyme. Come all you maidens, young and fair, all you that are blooming in your prime, always beware and keep your garden fair. Let no man steal away your time, for time it is a precious thing, and time brings all things to my mind. Time with all its labours, along with all its joys. Time brings all things to my mind. Once she had a bunch of thyme. She thought it never would decay. Then came a lusty sailor who chanced to pass her way. He stole her bunch of thyme away. The sailor gave to her a rose that never would decay. He gave it to her to keep her reminded of when he stole my thyme away. Come all you maidens, young and fair, all you that are blooming in your prime, always beware and keep your garden fair. Let no man steal away your time, for time it is a precious thing, and time brings all things to my mind. Time with all its labours, along with all its joys. Time brings all things to an end.
Well done, John.
Lovely, John. Yeah.